So what's going on and how's it coming about and who's responsible for it at the end of the day with all this violence? We're getting two more reports today. Matthew Vadim is with us. He's the senior editor at the Capital Research Center. CapitalResearch.org is their website. You could spell capital either way. It'll get you to the same place. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hey, I didn't know that. You could spell it both either way, and it'll get to the other place.
A-L or O-L, yeah. They both reroute to A-L.
Our website must have been pretty clever.
Yeah, it is.
Wasn't me.
I've done the same thing with Thom Hartmann, and we've got 4 different misspellings, and they all get you there.
Well, yeah.
Jameson Foster, is this your Twitter? Is this you twittering as Jameson Foster?
Which one?
I'm looking at a tweet here that, according to Media Matters, is from you that says, this does not excuse violent behavior, of course, but let's not forget the Dem behavior set the stage for this.
The ramming through Obamacare? Yeah, Obamacare's got America upset, and you're starting to see what happens.
Okay, so you're trying to tell me the Democrats just shouldn't have worn that dress, and if they hadn't, they wouldn't have gotten raped? You're trying to blame the victim?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm saying that when you ram legislation through that's opposed by the overwhelming majority of the American people, when you get it through with a bare majority, in fact,
first of all, the opposed Matthew. Hang on just a second here.
Hang on just a second here.
First of all, ramming it through. This took a year. The Republicans repeatedly were invited to participate in this, repeatedly, over and over again. Number two, it was passed by a majority vote. It's called democracy. What do you hate about democracy?
Well, this is not. What is it? What democracy? What is it? What is this? What is the issue here?
Democracy is majority rule.
This is a constitutional republic, and
this is actually a constitutionally limited. Democratic
constitutional republic that
representative democratic republic.
That uses democratic methods to elect leaders.
So what do you dislike about democratic methods?
There's no protection against majoritarianism, and the American people made it loud and clear that they didn't want Obamacare.
No, they didn't. Actually, when you look at those surveys that say that 48% of Americans are in favor of it and 49% are opposed to it, you look into the 49% who are opposed to it, and more than half of them are people like me who think that it should have gone a lot farther, that we should have single-payer health care. And when asked, well, is this a good first step? Yeah. I mean, look at the study, look at the poll that was on the front page of USA Today yesterday. The majority of Americans are with the Democrats on this. I'm not. I don't think this went far enough. I think it's a good, it's an okay first step. But to say that is just a plain old flat out Republican lie, and it astounds me how Republicans go on national television over and over going, the majority of Americans are opposed to it. Nonsense.
Well, then why are there all these protests? And why are they so upset?
Because millions of dollars are being spent to whip these people up.
100,000 phone calls an hour in the final days to Capitol Hill as the Obamacare vote in the House approached.
Because
what does all this explain?
Because
could it all just be astroturf paid for by the insurance companies? Is that what you're saying, Tom?
I am suggesting that it's largely astroturf, and it's not paid for by the insurance company. Some of it obviously is. You've got the PR firm that Dick Armey works for taking money from those industries, but you've also got wealthy people like the Koch family. You've got funding some of these front groups that led to the Tea Party movement. But perhaps more importantly, you've got an entire industry over at Fox News whipping up hate and fear and trying to divide working class Americans from each other along lines of race and class.
The takeover
and you're part of that.
The healthcare system, the nationalization of the healthcare system.
This is not the takeover of the healthcare system, Matthew.
Socialist, in fact, actually, it's fascist. It's a fascist, corporatist, Mussolini-style takeover of the healthcare system. And I know you don't agree, but let me explain. That you're taking over the means of production. They're taking over the insurance companies. They don't own them yet, but they're telling them what to do. That's fascism. Then they're going to eliminate, on schedule, they're going to eliminate the right of insurance companies to not take people with pre-existing conditions,
right,
which defeats the whole purpose of insurance to begin with. And then the insurance companies will go out of business, and then there'll be a hue and cry, and the government will just take it over entirely. Then you'll have your single-payer system, and it will just take a few years.
Well, I hope you're right.
Well, No, I know I'm right, and you know I'm right too, Tom.
But I wouldn't call that fascism. I would call that
to lead to single payer.
I would call that progress. We are here's a question for you, Matthew. We are the only country in the industrialized world, and that goes all the way down to Costa Rica, the top 38 nations. We're the only country in the industrialized world that allows for-profit corporations to offer primary health insurance. We're the only company that allows people like Stephen J. Hemsley to make $13.2 million a year and sit on $744,232,000 worth of stock options for his 5 years of work as CEO of United Healthcare. What possible rationale do you have for giving some guy $700 million for saying to people, no, we're not going to cure you of that condition?
I see we're just going to be going back and forth talking past each other with ideological talking points, but if that's the way you want to play it with the basics of Marxism...
I'm asking an honest question, Matthew. Why should we not join the rest of the civilized world?
America has the best health care on the planet.
If you're a billionaire.
People come here from, even if you're not a billionaire, even if you're on Medicaid, it still has the best care.
We actually export more people. The insurance companies will now pay.
Crime, Tom, for any hospital to refuse emergency care to someone who genuinely
Yes, that great
it.
Socialist Ronald Reagan signed that into law in 1986.
That what you can, whatever is all I can say.
That was Reagan's idea. It was signed into law by a Republican Congress and a Republican president.
With a Republican president.
And you're condemning it. I'm astounded. But the fact of the matter is that the United States is actually a net exporter of medical patients. Our health insurance companies will now pay for you to go to Thailand to have a hip replacement. They will pay for you to go to India to have surgery, particularly cosmetic surgery. They will pay for you to leave the country. We are a net exporter of medical patients, not an importer. More people are leaving the United States for health care than are coming to the United States for health care.
Well, the Premier of Newfoundland in Canada, for one, said that the heart surgery that he needed, the coronary surgery he needed, was not available to him in Canada, and so he took a beating, because he's with the Conservative Party, when he came a few weeks ago.
He was the ex-premier at that time, and it had to do with his brother-in-law, and he also had a home in Florida, and so he went down to Florida where he owned a home and had the surgery. Come on, give me a break. This one cute little talking point. The fact of the matter is, Canadians call into this program all the time and say, I love my...
Listen, Tom, I'm originally from Canada, okay? I've lost most of my accent over time, and I know whereof I speak. There have been plenty of studies, like a place that I used to work at called the Fraser Institute. I was a fellow or an intern or whatever you want to call it there. They constantly do studies about the rationing of health care. It is an ongoing...
You think health care is not rationed in the United States, Matthew?
You're just playing semantic games with me. Can I just finish what I'm saying? You don't have to agree with me. They ration the health care, especially with the most serious things. With minor things, you just got a cold, you got some diarrhea or whatever, it's great.
How is it possible?
You got your health card, you go into
How is it possible, Matthew, to have any kind of health care system without rationing?
That costs money, that's complicated, that's hard to deal with, you get put on a list. And you get sicker and sicker and sicker unless you have political pull. I used to have a girlfriend who worked at a magnetic resonance imaging center in Toronto, and the Governor General's kid one day, the representative of the Queen's kid, the viceroyal family, some kid needed an MRI scan. He skipped the 6-month queue because he was politically important, and that is what you're going to see in America. You're going to see if your disease is not popular with the political establishment, if your disease doesn't have a good lobby in the Congress, you're screwed.
You know, Matthew, this kind of rhetoric, you guys and you and the Republicans have been pumping this rhetoric out for months now, for years now, and the American people aren't buying it, Matthew. The American people aren't buying it. CapitalResearch.org, Matthew Vadim. Matthew, thanks for coming by.
Always a pleasure.
Okay.